We're glad that you're still with us on the front burners today, and this is the time for Policy Discuss. The building industry in Nigeria, or we can say the construction industry in Nigeria, is a very large one that employs numbers of people, and this is also business for the companies that provide the services. But when we talk about local content, we're talking about the raw materials used in the construction industry, the services coming from within. Today we have architect Ovie Binitie, who is an architect, who will be speaking to us on building capacity and local content in Nigeria's construction industry. Good morning, sir. It's great to have you here in the studio physically.
Good morning. Thank you. It's crazy what's happening out there on the roads. Traffic is they're broken down trucks, you know, all kinds of things. But I'm glad to be here.
Well, great. We're happy we can have you here. The last time we had a conversation with you, it was virtual.
Yes, it was.
When we talk about the construction industry in Nigeria, that's a very big sector, given the activities ongoing there and the amount of money that passes through that industry. But we find that sometimes companies that take a large chunk of the money are foreign companies. How do we build capacity to ensure that Nigerian industries or Nigerian companies are benefiting hugely from the construction industry?
Thank you. The construction industry is the largest employer of labor in any country. The largest employer. Everything that is used in any economy is built by the construction industry. So, you and I need to appreciate what the skills required in the industry are, and then deliberately build those skills within your local community. It's deliberate. If you're not deliberate about it, foreigners will take over the whole space. Now, you've got to understand that we have a critical gap. That gap is in our psyche. That gap is that certain things can't be done well by us. You know, this is 2025. I was born in 1960. The word makes me cringe each time I hear it today in Nigeria is Oyibo. Because that word gives a connotation of superiority that doesn't exist except in our minds. So a workman in Nigeria will straighten up and behave properly when he's working for an Oyibo, but will be lax and, you know, lose when he's working for a Nigerian. Now, the difference is, thank you. The difference is quality and standards. Quality and standards. We are emotional people, so we don't enforce strictly rules and guidelines. Standards, we don't teach our people standards. Now, let me give you a simple example. This table has a standard height. Anywhere in the world, this table height for this conversation, a conference table height, is standard. Now, how many of our people know the standard height of this table because it has been shown to them? Very few. They just do it as they've seen it done. So we have a huge capacity gap. Huge capacity gap that we need to deliberately fill. Otherwise, artisans from Europe, artisans from Asia, artisans from the Arab world come here and take management positions because they have knowledge. Artisans, they have superior knowledge, and then the color of their skin. They are artisans, I tell you. They are carpenters, they are plumbers.
Okay. All right. I want to take you on the capacity building, but you made a very fundamental remark while you were responding to Blessing. That is, there are broken down vehicles on the road. What's wrong with our maintenance culture as a people?
Well, we don't have one. We don't have a maintenance culture. Look, you've got to understand that there's something innately wrong with our psyche. I'll give you an example. A man has 5 luxury cars parked in his garage, but the road that goes to his house is broken, and he has the influence to get the road fixed, but he says no, he won't get it fixed, because if perchance they come and steal any of his cars, before they're able to maneuver through the bad road, police will have arrived to arrest them.
So the bad road is a security measure.
So keeping the bad road is a security measure.
Oh my God.
You can see the kind of mental problem we have. But see, it's a leadership problem, right? Now, if the leader determines that this is the way that we will go, people are not inherently bad. People are waiting to be shown what to do. So the general direction of leadership in Nigeria is mediocrity. So I was responding to somebody, a post on social media. Somebody gave a contract to a contractor. He has built pillars. You can see the iron rods coming out from the top. But the entire inside, no iron rods.
Oh, I saw that yesterday.
I sent it to you. And he pushed the pillar down. And somebody says, be careful of who you give your contract to. I said, no. You who chose to give the contract out because your primary consideration was cost, you are the main culprit. Do your due diligence. Get the right professionals. Oh, Babari Sikat has been building forever, so he can do it right. No. He doesn't have any iota of, knowledge of standards. Get professionals to supervise your building. No, you don't, because you think it is going to cost you money. But guess what? A Toyota and a Mercedes-Benz, they are both cars, but they cost different. Why? The parameters for making them are different.
Okay. All right. Let me take you back to where we are, local content.
Yes.
In 2010, Nigeria wrote a local content bill and was passed into an act by the parliament, especially in the oil and gas sector, so that we can have locals participate both at the upstream and the downstream. Now, we have seen over years, we have also set up institutions. We have the Petroleum Training Institute in Efuru. We also have the University of Petroleum Resources in Efuru. And these institutions have been churning out students and graduates over the years. And we have a Dangote Beauty Refinery, and media reported that over 11,000 artisans came from other parts of the world to work in that refinery. So what is wrong with us?
So opportunities present themselves, and we look away from the opportunities. PTI in Efru was set up in the 70s by the Gowon government, right? Now, PTI was set up as part of national development plan that was put together by Balewa government. Now, the Gowon government essentially implemented Balewa's economic plan, right? The national stadium, all of the international airport, all the Balewa plans, but adhered to by Gowon. Now, PTI was supposed to be, as we're becoming more involved in production of oil as a nation, the government recognized the need for us to have local content managing these things. And PTI was set up in Warri because the whole oil industry was in the south part of this country. So that was supposed to be the engine room for producing artisans, workmen for the oil industry. fantastic, and that's what's been converted to the university. You see, we have this penchant for degree. Degree is nothing. So we have these opportunities to build capacity. When Dubai was being built, they were going to set up a iron and steel industry in Dubai. Now, they contracted a Swiss steel company to come and build it. And then part of the agreement was, we are going to give you, for every staff that you have, we will give you one of our people. They will be Siamese twins, right? They share the same room. Their laptops are beside each other. So if the Swiss man gets up and puts on his laptop, the Arab man gets up and puts on his laptop. Now, it's about, you build it for us and go home, we run our facility. Now, I know this because a Nigerian who was employed by the Swiss company was part of the whole thing. So, Dangote Refinery was a perfect example, opportunity for us to build capacity. We didn't. It slipped us by. Julius Berger has been in Nigeria forever, making tons of money. Have they built one training institute in Nigeria to build capacity? No. Now, nobody offers you what you don't ask for. Has anybody demanded of Julius Berger that you must have an institute for building capacity? No. So capacity building is about improving the ability of people to do their work better. That's what capacity building is. Now, it is assumed that you already have the basic, ability to do the thing. Now, capacity building means this ability is being enhanced, built up. It's being honed, it's being sharpened. This light that is here now is not harmful to anybody. But once you begin to concentrate this light, it becomes a laser beam, which is harmful. So capacity building is, our leaders do not see what capacity building can be. In Nigeria, on the streets now, you have boys running after buses. It started somewhere, but it has spread across the country. That's part of capacity building. But capacity building in the wrong direction. You are disenabling people from adding value to society. You are enabling people to take away. These boys can stop your vehicle and you will not be able to move for the next 30 minutes. All because all they are asking from you is 100 naira. So we have enabled the wrong capacity building skills and ignored the capacity building skills of local content. Local content is not primarily the inanimate, the minerals, the cement, and all. No, it is the human beings, because cement cannot of itself do anything. Granite of itself cannot. Harvesting the granite itself. How do we harvest granite? How do we harvest the sand that we use in doing our construction? We are still doing manual. In 2025? No, it shouldn't be so.
Okay. Also looking at, you just mentioned the UAE having to second their citizens to the expatriates that work in those environments. I actually remember that when the Arab Spring happened, and I was speaking with one Emiratis, and he said, well, the Arab Spring didn't happen in the UAE because they had a strategy, long-term plan to ensure that their people were not disempowered. And as soon as the spring started, what they did, they just offloaded the expatriate and allowed their sons to run the system. And because over the time they had been trained. Now, but that was deliberate, imitating other people's technology. But there's also the place of reverse engineering that China had actually employed in building itself up. What do we need to do as a people to even begin to look at those areas of reverse engineering?
again, we'll come back to leadership. It didn't happen. These things don't happen by themselves. A leader charts a course. You know, I'm a Christian, so the Bible says, write down the vision, make it plain, so that those who read it can run with it. Now, the Bible also says, where there's no vision, everybody does as they like. And you can see in Nigeria, everybody does as they like. Why? No vision. Now, the Japanese bought Kamaz trucks from Russia, Soviet Union then. A Kamaz truck was a steel, heavy, all steel. They bought Kamaz trucks, took them to Japan, and then the Soviets were wondering, we're not seeing our Kamaz trucks on the road in Japan. They were buying the Kamaz trucks not because they needed trucks, they were buying the Kamaz truck because they needed the material with which the Kamaz truck was made. So they broke down the material of the Kamaz truck and were producing the materials, the cars, you know, and things, because reverse engineering is, everything we do is deliberately planned and intentional. Let me give you an example here locally. I was just watching a documentary on Lateef Jakonde. Lateef Jakonde said, we must get everybody into school. So he started acquiring all manner of spaces and started schools in sheds. Those sheds, it wasn't just that. It was with a plan of gradually building up those things. And we can see those schools today. There are no sheds anywhere any longer. There are 3-4 story, you know, classroom blocks in those locations. So what started as sheds have become proper formal school environments. That's the result of visioneering and planning. Now, along with that, he signed with Bouygues, the largest construction company in Nigeria, in the world, a French company. They've left Nigeria, to build, I think, 10,037 classroom blocks in Lagos. Now and they employed Nigerians. But like I said in our Monday interview, slowly, gradually, we told our people, only people who cannot go to university should go into capacity building. Because it's such a terrible place where we find ourselves, right? Where we think that work is not what we should do. Making money is what we should do. No, he that does not work should not eat. You know.
Let's look at the example that you gave with the park boys and those who run after vehicles,
yes,
collecting money, and it started in a place before we knew it. It became a nationwide thing. So those who started doing it by observation learned how it was done, and how those who started it were able to achieve success by extorting money from motorists. Let's also look at that principle of observation. There is a Nigerian Content Development Monitoring Board that was established by the Nigerian Local Content Act. That board was to ensure that Nigerian content is given major consideration in every project within the oil and gas industry. How come that over the years, since the exploration of oil started in Nigeria, years down the line, we still depend on foreigners for a major part of the industry, for technology? Is it that by observation, this technology has not been learnt, and by the monitoring board, we have not put in procedural guidelines to enable the transfer of technology across the construction sector in Nigeria?
You know, in 2025, we should not be talking about transfer of technology at all. When we talk about transfer of technology, it was because there was an educational gap between this territory and that territory. But now, in today's world, there's nothing like that. Nothing productive is learned by observation. Nothing. Let's take simple football that's making tons of money across the world. Nobody that makes a success of football ever does it by observing from what other people. No, there's grit and hard work required in doing these things. The local content board, what were the parameters in appointing the people who are running these organizations? How knowledgeable are they about the task that they have been given to do? These things are, you know, reading my Bible, Solomon wants to build the temple in Jerusalem. And he tells himself, I don't have the right personnel to build this temple. And reaches out to another country. This is not many years ago, this we're talking about. And reaches out to another country and says, look, send me your workmen who will teach my people. They will be working, this same principle that Dubai did. My people will work with your people. When they finish, you go away. We have built capacity. The people we appoint to office is so critical in achieving these goals. The people we appoint to office. You have a local content board. Let's look at what their passions are. Are they passionate about local content development? What policies have they come up with? Like I told you on Monday, building capacity is a slow and very arduous process. Slow and very difficult process. People get in, 10 people get in, 8 fall by the wayside, 2 come out on the other side. And it's a continuous feeding of people into the system, weeding out those who don't, pass the muster, and the rest continue. If you read a book called Good to Great, it emphasizes character as primary over talent. Character as primary over talent. So you want a company wants to set up a steel factory. Now, rather than import people, because skills can be acquired by anybody. Skills can be learned by anybody. It is the character, diligence. These things are not taught to people. You are a diligent person or you are not.
Okay. Look at, you just spoke about good to great and the effect of character in really, like they say, talent is always not enough. You need character to really make the talent as productive as it can be. What role is value playing in capacity building in Nigeria? Recently, while we're doing construction of this place, there was a young man who was a mason and was here, and we're asking, we need more hands. And he was saying to me, yes, there are a lot of people out there who are doing nothing, but you want them to come and work, and they tell you they want to learn. They come to work one day, the next day they run away, and some of them even prefer the money and not the work. Now, how did we arrive at this level where people don't even actually want to get the skills, but they want actually to get the money?
So, lots of things are responsible for where we find ourselves, right? We haven't, you see, the top distills downwards. I read the book from third world to first world.
Lee Kuan Yew.
The story of Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew. Now, Lee Kuan Yew, okay, I went to school in the Soviet Union.
Okay.
Right? I didn't apply for scholarship. A friend of mine, I was living in Warri, a friend of mine in Lagos, got to know about Bureau for External Aid, got the form, called me on the phone in Warri, and I gave him my result. He filled the form for me, he submitted it on my behalf, and I got the scholarship. I didn't know anybody, I didn't see anybody, nothing. This was in 1980, 81. That can't happen in today's Nigeria any longer, because the emphasis on gain without work has overshadowed practically everything. Now, and you see countless examples around you of people who are not doing anything, but are living a life of affluence. Now, who wants to work if you can have money without working? I'm not sure you want to work. I'm not sure you'll be here sweating if you could have access to free money. But you know what?
But that's one of the seven social evil according to Gandhi.
it is, you know. So we, our leaders, those who have risen up in leadership in this country over the years, and this tragedy sadly was reinforced in the Babangida years. I mean, I know a lot of us going on about Babangida in this time, but corruption and access to free money became entrenched in that period, and it just gotten worse. So people have come to believe that it is possible to make money without work.
Now, we've been talking about the lack of capacity in Nigeria's construction industry. Pri, what's your thoughts regarding the conversation so far? It seems more like when it comes to being skilled, having what we refer to as handiwork, some persons this is a shying away from it, and as a country we're not taking intentional steps to ensure that we have people well trained, even institutions, that there is no skills gap happening.
Thank you very much. I want to say very big thank you to Mr. Ovie Binitie for architect Ovie Binitie for dispensing such invaluable and giving us insight into that. First of all, when I left the university, one of my regrets was that in the midst of 33,000 students, from diploma to BSc plus ASU strike years, totaling 8 years or so before I left the university, there was no handiwork that I could boast of to serve that community of thousands of students and make money for myself. That's what I held to myself. So when I'm giving advice to people these days, I'm like, have something. When you're going there, don't just wait for mommy and daddy to send you money. Just have something. Well, you'll be tired of people placing orders. That's what I tell them. So I know what that means, the handiwork or the skills work, that capacity building. But let me take architect to a different part, and that's the content part I want to talk about. Recently or last year and last 2 years, the level of building collapse in Lagos and other parts of Nigeria reached an unbearable level. In fact, there are some instances in some governors of some states or some governments or the government administration of the states were, they were purely involved because some of the officials went to approve some things that they were not supposed to approve, or they went beyond some level of approval and buildings came down. People died. One of the arguments was that, look, the materials for these buildings were fake materials. And so when we talk about content, we're referring to how we get these materials, how we source these materials locally to make sure they are of industry standards, and when we use them, we can have formidable structures that will stand the test of time. Do you think we've been doing well in that aspect?
We've not been doing well at all. sand, sand is not sand. That's what people do not understand. Sand is not sand. If you take sand from the bar beach here, you can't use that sand for construction because it doesn't have, it has chemicals that will not allow it bond with the cement properly. Sand that is used for construction comes from river beds that doesn't have salt in it. Well, so you see,
who tests this to be sure that there is
I was beginning to wonder, okay, there shouldn't be salt in there.
Look, these things are so important. Water is the same thing with water. You can't just get water and start using it for construction. You know, the same thing with reinforcement. See, people are dubious the world over. It's not fraud. It's not a Nigerian thing. It's a human thing. If you go to China, if you tell them, I want this iron rod, I want it to be 16 mm. When they use their vernier calipers to measure it, is 16 mm, but produce it in such a way that I can buy it for half the value of 16 mm rod, and they produce it for you. You know, because what goes into making a steel rod, they can doctor it and you get what you want, but once it gets into the system, the iron rod is going to be put inside concrete. Inside that concrete, water is going into that concrete. That water is going to degrade that iron rod that is inside the concrete. That's it. Building gone. Now, value is the most important ingredient in everything that we do. Value is never measured in monetary terms. Value is the quality of a thing. Right? The quality of a thing. Now, the higher the value, the higher the worth. Worth is monetary. Worth is measured in financial terms, not value. You can value a shirt because of the way it makes you look. You can value, units can value this, her glasses, above any, but it might not be that expensive. But what it means to her is why she holds it in high esteem, right? So once we begin to value quality above money, once we begin to value character above money, then things will begin to change. A man employs a painter to paint his boat. In the process of painting the boat, he sees a hole in the boat, and then he fixes the hole so that he can paint the whole thing properly. And he fixes the hole and he paints it and he moves on with his life. Now, fixing the hole was not part of his job, the contract, but he saw a gap, and it didn't mean anything to him fixing the hole, and he fixed it and he went away. So he collected his money and he went away. Then the owner of the boat calls him and says, please come. He comes, said, and then he gives him money. He said, well, you paid me all this money for. I said, you don't know what you did. When I came back and I looked for the boat, they told me that my children are taking the boat to go out into the sea. I knew that there was a hole in the boat that I forgot to tell you about. So when they told me that my children had gone, my conclusion was that I had lost my children. But then they came back and I checked and I saw that the hole had been fixed. And they said that you fixed the hole. I said, yes, I mean, it was there, it needed to be fixed and I fixed it. Now, that's value, right? By the painter, value. He saw a gap and he fixed it without saying, oh, if, we didn't talk about this, so let's talk about this before I do it and all of all that stuff. Which is what drives us generally as a people. And this driving principle is distilled down what is in it
for me. Okay, now talking about this equating value with money.
Yes.
In Nigeria. Which is really what people do, and so everything is measured in monetary terms. I've seen government officials, especially representatives, who also wanted to empower their people, and then they set up this skill acquisition. One particularly in Ikeja recently, and the man had to train them for a certain number of days, just like you have been begging churches for free training. And then, of course, people showed up. And the man was to give them 100,000 for training to go do startup. Now, they attended those training. The people who brought the people and the people who were brought had an agreement of 60-40 sharing. Now, they appeared in the training and the 100,000 was given to them. And the person who gave them the connect took 40,000, and then the people who came took the 16,000, and then they went to drink beer. I also had to do interview in the Niger Delta some years ago, and I was told point blank that it's not as if the oil companies are not giving spaces to locals, but that the locals are also trading the spaces. And they ask for 1 year salary in advance, and then they sell the slot to willing buyers
from anywhere.
Now, how do we start to cure these malaise? And number two, you also talk about Jakonde setting up plenty of school. Do actually establishing schools and institution equal to capacity building?
Okay, so from the beginning, trading, skills acquisition programs, right, by politicians, right, is not intended to benefit anybody in real terms. Like I told you on Monday, skill acquisition is premised on who does the training. Skills acquisition is not done by teachers. It's done by practitioners. Now, practitioners need to be people who have been doing it to standard. So they are passing on standard way of doing things to their trainees. Well, I mean, let me not say the whole skill acquisition program in Nigeria is fraudulent. It's a scam. It's a vehicle for everybody, including the politicians, to make tons of money for themselves. But hardly anybody really gets empowered, including when the Niger Delta crisis was at its peak, and they set up the amnesty program. And people were sent abroad, you know, all those fancy TV things that it's crazy, right? So hold on. So how do we stop this thing, right? We come back to one word. It's leadership, right? Lead by example. Lead by example. That is the key to these things. I was given 6 people from the skills acquisition training program of the Buhari administration. 6 people who have been trained, who had gone through training as plumbers.
Okay.
They knew nothing. They knew nothing. All they were in need for was to be getting the monthly stipend that was being paid to them. That was it. So it's a deliberate program we need to set up. You need to design it, build the capacity of the people who will do the training, draw up a curriculum for the training, for each skill, before you bring in people, and then you sift the people, interview the people who are going to do the skill acquisition. It's not an all-comers thing. All comers come, we sift them. If only 20% of the people who turn up we determine are interested in, once anything free will be abused every day of the year.
Okay, so when we're talking about skills, you have said that skill acquisition is premised on who is teaching the skill. On that side, so we find that these days, some persons with the skills do not want to even pass it on. When they have apprentices, there seems to be a system where the apprentices are shortchanged because there is knowledge hoarding happening. And on the other side, we'll talk about local content. There is capacity in the aspect of funding. It seems like some indigenous companies may have capacity, but they do not have fund enough to take on certain projects. And so when it comes to contract bidding, the big companies outbid the small ones. Can you respond to these two issues? Knowledge hoarding on the part of those who are passing on the skills.
You have to understand that knowledge hoarding is a cultural thing with us. It's not tied to the skills acquisition business. The people in our homesteads, we've always known that the herbalist selects those whom he will train, and he doesn't train them 100%. The tragedy is we think that we are doing ourselves a favor by knowledge hoarding. It's a cultural thing, remember I said. So, skill acquisition that we're talking about is not premised on apprenticeship. Apprenticeship is saying the teacher is teaching his trainees to the level of his knowledge. What if his knowledge is limited? Like you said, it will be quarter cast, right?
Quarter baked.
Yeah, I know. So, again, it comes back to leadership. You don't outsource your capacity building to individuals. You work in partnership. Like I said, there's Vega, there's CCECC, there's many across the nation presently. Kappa and Alberto, there are many working. The latest is Cranborg, there are many. Come up with a policy that says you must build a training facility. You must build people who will do the training of these skills. That's construction industry. Let's come to your hair industry. Let's come to fashion. My sister at almost 60 went to school to learn sewing. Formal school. There are formal schools where you can learn sewing here in Nigeria. Now, once you don't want to pay premium for knowledge, you will end up with knowledge hoarders. Once, every good thing will cost you. I told you, it cost me over £1,000 in 2006 to train as a plumber in the UK. Online, I didn't go to the UK. It cost me over £1,000 in 1986 to train as a plumber. It costs money. We're looking for cheap. Nothing is free. Nothing. You have to acquire it by paying a price. I went to the Soviet Union. It cost me money to live there for 6 years. Right? These things, none of them is cheap. So, look, I met an organization that wanted to set up an NGO for training artisans. And I sat down with heads of departments and lecturers from polytechnics I told you that I'm an assessor, right? Qualified assessor. None of them qualified to teach anybody anything.
According to your assessment?
Yes, but they are heads of departments in their schools. So what kind of product would they be churning out in the schools? I told the people who called me, I said, heads of departments. I asked them critical questions. They couldn't answer. They don't know. If you don't know as the trainer,
it's finished.
What can we say about good training?
Yes, thank you so much. Now, there's a part I want us to equally look at because we've said something else, that value, define value. I think it's not only the first time I'm hearing it from you that we must not measure value with money, and money should not be the priority. In this age, of course, this platform also is for business economy development. People must see that if I'm going to engage myself in a craft, apart from having the passion and the desire for it, it must be able to fend for my family, fend for myself.
Absolutely.
So, we need to put that at the fore. There's this eye that people look at, other people, they say handiwork, and the way they are priced in our climb here. Would you say those people will end up in the same place where we have the board of directors and the CEOs who are running some, like Dr. Dachau call them the white-collar jobbers?
You see, like you said here on Monday when I was offline, I was listening to you. If you call a workman outside Nigeria, first of all, there's what you call a call-out fee. So for me to come to your place, you pay me to come and find out what the problem is. We're not talking about doing the work yet.
Consultation?
It's a call-out fee. I come and see, and then I tell you what the problem is and what it will require to fix it. You can then decide whether you want to go ahead and fix it or not. But so let's understand what you pay me for. You pay me for my time. You pay me for my time. The time I'm using to come to your place is what I could use to earn money. So my time is the primary thing you pay me for. That's why outside Nigeria, you clock in, you clock out. You are paid per time. If you work for 4 hours, it's not, you know how in Nigeria, it's 30 days, I mean, you register every day, at the end of the month you get paid. No, 4 hours, that's what you earn for that day, end of story, right? So we have to understand that you are paying me for my time. My time is what primarily I own, first of all. Now, the value of my time is enhanced by the skills that I have acquired. The people I have trained here in Lagos, I tell them, somebody calls you, it's 25,000 naira. You want me to come to your house, you pay me 25,000 naira, I come. If you don't pay me, keep your mess in your house for yourself. And people are paying. You see, when you have a problem, if your car breaks down on Third Mainland Bridge, somebody shows up, so God, open your bonnet. Now, why do you open your bonnet? Why do they tell you, please go away, I don't need you? You need help. You are stranded, right? So, you open the bonnet for him. He says, start him. He says, God, bring 25,000 naira. I will go and get this thing. And you part with 25,000 naira. You don't ask him any questions about why 25,000 naira. Let me give you 10,000 naira. You don't haggle. You don't do. Why? Because at this point in time, you are in need of help. So, what we've got to understand is, first of all, the only thing that Dr. Idahosa has is time. And God, in his justness, gave all of us in equal measure 24 hours a day. Now, when you call, if you call me to come and give a speech now, you tell me we'll pay you 10,000 naira per hour. When you call Barack Obama to come and speak for you, First of all, you will fly him here. You put him in a 5-star hotel. You, not him, right? Why? Because you are paying him for his time and the perceived value that he's bringing to the table, which is completely different from my own value that I'm bringing to the table. Right? So when you, the workman, values your own work, not because you are desperate for money, then you begin, when you see yourself differently, you present yourself differently. Now, let me give you a practical example. I'm a plumber, right? You tell me you have this work that you want me to do, and I tell you it's going to cost you 750,000. You say, okay, I don't have more than 450,000. No. Somebody else is ready to take it for 450,000, but it's because I like you. And I say, okay, no problem. If you do 500, I will do it. It's okay, 500. Now let me tell you what is at play here. In that 750,000 naira, my takeaway was 200,000. Now that we have come down to 500,000, what do you think my takeaway is?
Still the same.
It's still the same 200 naira. Now what has just happened is the quality of work delivery now has reduced from 550 to 300.
Yes.
So I'm now looking at what materials I can use to get the job done under 300,000. And in some houses that I've been to, I've seen waste pipes that ended just below lintel level, going nowhere, both from WC and from yes, because see, the people we call workmen, these people whose capacity we deliberately ignore because we think that once they get better at doing the things that they do, they'll become more expensive. So let us keep them at the pedestrian level that they are at so that we can cheat them and pay them. The ultimate victim is still the elite.
Pay peanuts, get monkings for workers.
I wish we had more time to actually discuss it because the issues surrounding the construction industry in Nigeria are quite enormous. But I believe that we've handled a number of it, beginning from how we view skill and how leadership handles skill acquisition. What we, on the other hand, who are those who pay for skill, who would need skilled persons to render service to us, how we see what they do, and how we also begin. You are as the skilled person, what is your role? How do you add value to what you do so that you get the right worth for your value? Thank you so much, Architect Ovie Binitie, for coming down to the studio today and have this discussion with us.
Thank you very much for having me. I think it's such a critical element of our national development that we can't help but continue to talk about capacity building across board, including shoemaking. When I was growing up, a shoemaker, when he wants to mend your shoe, that twine, he rubs glue on it, right? Now that glue is to make it water resistant. No shoemaker today rubs glue on it.
Wow. We should begin to look at what
we will come back again, definitely.
Yes, life is supposed to be progressive.
Because for us here in Suknus, it's about a good Nigeria, and it must be in our own lifetime.
By the grace of God.
Okay, so life is supposed to be progressive and things are supposed to get better, not worse. Over time, technology, new methods are supposed to make what we do better. So whatever skill it is that you have, you should hone the skill to update it to ensure that you're delivering better service than you did yesterday. It will not be a good story when yesterday becomes better than today. That's how we wrap up the Policy Discuss segment on the Front Burners today. And that's how we wrap up the last edition of the Front Burners for the month of February 2025. The next time the show comes up would be in March 2025. Make a decision by yourself. If you like, you could call it a resolution for the month of March. How do you want it to be for you and your business? I'm Blessing Eichie. I'll see you Monday from Dr. Idahosa Osamhanze.
It's nice being here all week, and we will do same next week. And just stand by, keep liking, engaging all our conversation. We want to get your feedback as much as possible, and then share the link with all your loved ones. It's front burners where issues that make sense are discussed.
Oyinpreye Krumale.
Well, I'm Oyinpreye Krumale. I'm glad it's the weekend, even though it's not going to last for long. I'm still glad it's the weekend. Do have yourself a splendid weekend.